Hello, welcome to today's episode of Juicing the Numbers, your statistics and sports podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Tracy.
I am Corwin Heller.
And we're back on a Monday. Can you believe it? A holiday Monday, holiday weekend for those of us in the working world, 3-day weekend. And we still got the podcast out. We are committed to getting back on schedule here. We did it, folks. As George Bush would say in 2003, mission accomplished. 2004, whatever it was. Who cares?
I am committed to stopping the war on terror. Now watch me bomb this drive.
And with that, there's not much going on. There really isn't. Coaching hires are still happening in the NFL. We're still going to just sit on it until they've mostly wrapped up or we've concluded that portion of it. So we're not just doing it piecemeal because talking about one coaching hire at a time is kind of boring. That being said, Brian Flores was hired recently as a defensive backs coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is an interesting development. Not in
linebackers coach.
Oh, sorry, linebackers coach. Defensive assistant linebackers coach. I conflated some words there. And
we do it.
It's not like we're going to sit here and talk about what that means for the linebackers core for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but that has implications because of Brian Flores' lawsuit, as well as the status of black coaches in the NFL, because that also officially means Brian Flores won't be a head coach anywhere this upcoming season, which means that there is one less certainly qualified black head coaching candidate who will not have a head coaching position this year.
Do you think it'll genuinely have an impact on the lawsuit itself?
Well, I don't know. So what I would imagine, I'm not going to say a lawyer because I'm not a lawyer and I have no idea how that aspect of law works or how you have to think about it. But I know if I was a person defending the NFL, whether that be in like a public forum or not, the talking track there, I would imagine, would be, look, he got hired somewhere. So front offices have put their, ill will of him to the side. They're not racist because they hired a black dude. And they did it. He is working and receiving NFL paychecks, which means the NFL doesn't have a problem here.
You know, I think the funny part is that won't have nearly the same level of impact because it also just happens to be the only team that already has a black coach.
Well, that and the issue is that black people aren't getting hired to be head coaches. Like Brian Flores, who has head coaching experience,
winning record,
did not get a head coaching job. That's the problem. The problem is that a more than qualified, he's not even the assistant head coach. He's not even defensive coordinator. He's not even the assistant he's the linebackers coach. And that's not to say fuck all linebacker coach and core group coaches, but he was just the head coach of a team that barely missed the playoffs. He should be the head coach of another team. So there's, I think, maybe a sense of conflation between getting hired in a vacuum and getting hired for a position you're more than qualified for. Like if someone with 5 years, not even a lot, like in the grand scheme of a corporate job, 5 years of corporate experience, got shit canned, and they had 2 interviews, one for a equivalent position at a different company. I got fired as an accountant at PSE&G. I'm going to go apply to be an accountant at Bear Paints, or I'm going to apply to be a cashier at McDonald's. I got offered the McDonald's job. Clearly, there's no problem here. These are the same. They're not the same. They're not the same at all. And guess what? Being a head coach is significantly harder than being a linebackers coach. And if you've done it successfully for honestly 1 year, let alone the term of Brian Flores' career, which I think is only like 2 or 3, you deserve to have it again.
Yeah, It's pretty fucked. I'm really happy the Steelers were able to sign him. We all know he's going to have looks later down the line, regardless of how this lawsuit plays out, because I don't know. Honestly, maybe that's just me with my wishful thinking based off of past perspective where, oh yeah, of course he's going to get an interview. Oh, he's going to get a serious look because of that. That's what that means, right? Um, but my goodness, he should by all means be getting looks at head coaching positions. But here we are, still uncertain if that is what it actually means. But hey, if the Steelers can keep him in house for a year, 2 years, I doubt he'll last even that long. I'm very happy. Super successful coach. I think it'll be for him to see the culture and just get a different perspective. If anything else, if you want to find some possible silver lining, but at the end of the day, the fact that he has to settle for such a position is disgusting.
And huge shout outs and a lot of credit to Mike Tomlin and to the Rooney family, because they very well could have ended up saving his career. Because I would not be surprised if the reason Brian Flores took this position was because, one, if you have a job in the NFL, it is your dream to have a job in the NFL. Mm-hmm. No one accidentally ends up the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Like, Corwin and I did not dream of our current positions, but we took jobs that we applied for and got accepted to because we need money. Like, no one accidentally, like, I accidentally became my current job title. No one accidentally became the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you were working as a coach in the NFL, it was your dream to do that. And so for Brian Flores to have the opportunity to really, what this feels like is Mike Tomlin or whomever brokered this little arrangement saying, if Brian Flores gets shunned from the league because of this, his chances of re-entry are essentially zero, because owners will use the excuse of, well, you used to head coach, but you haven't head coached in a few years, so you're done. We don't want you. The game has moved on from you, which would be a lie, but they would say that anyway. And what this does is it allows Flores to at least be in the league so that in future seasons, he has more opportunities to continue pushing for his head coaching position that he deserves. It is obviously not the way anyone would have wanted this to go, because Brian Flores deserves to have a head coaching job, but it allows him to stay perennially in the conversation around head coaching positions because he'll be actively working in football. And it won't be such a catastrophically huge position where the Steelers, and this might be me projecting a little bit, but I would imagine the Steelers put him in a position that they wouldn't have to build around, because they're going to assume he's going to get a head coaching position.
Which, I mean, the Steelers just hired a defensive coordinator internally. It's not like they have Brian Flores there as like, all right, we have you in this position for this year. Next year, we're going to promote you up to defensive coordinator. It just would be a really bad look for us to do this year after just hiring him. But hey, you're the defensive coordinator in waiting. When Mike Tomlin retires, we'll have you be the head coach in waiting as well, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, there's no way the Steelers are going to have that be their plan with this guy. They're not planning on him being there for multiple seasons, because I can't. It's a position where, hey, senior defensive assistant, he's going to be in the booth. He's going to be right there with Mike Tomlin, voice in ear, just working on improving the defense, just getting, talented guys, smart guys in the building to help make this team better. And at the end of the day, that makes your team better all around. So I'm all for it. I'm not worried about, how long his tenure is going to be with the team. I'm just glad that he's a part of it.
Yeah, there's no such thing as having, too many really smart people at all your positions. Yeah. From the Steelers' perspective, it's like, you're getting plenty out of him, I'm sure. But still, it is it's unfortunate because of what he should have, but it's good that he has at least this, because guys like Kaepernick didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is frustrating, and Still not right, but it's a small amount of a type of progress. I'm trying not to be like, this is good. It's not good, but it's better. I'll say it's better.
Yeah, it's not the worst case scenario.
Yeah, right.
I got a little distracted by that, Josh. I just sent this to you. During this entire discussion, Twitter's been blowing up because the head coach of Michigan's basketball team, Juwan Howard, who, was a face of the team back in the Fab Five era, brought the Michigan team to the national championship game in '99, sometime around then. The Michigan team was down, out of the game. Game was losing. The opposing, Wisconsin head coach called a timeout, pissed off Juwan Howard. And after the game ended, they were going through the handshakes. Coaches shook hands. And Juwan Howard was so heated and so upset getting into his face, he ended up throwing a punch at the opposing team's coach and starting an entire scramble on the court, which, hey, believe me, I love Michigan men as much as anybody, but that's a bad look. That's a really bad look. You can't be doing that, especially as the head coach. I just keep watching this clip. And
it looks like he
never ends.
threw a slap down at what was attempted to be the head coach and ended up hitting what looks like, I guess, an assistant coach right on the jaw.
And then Michigan players start throwing punches, it looks like. Or maybe they're just really pushing and shoving.
This is also really showing.
Oh no, yeah, no. There's punches being thrown on the court.
This really shows me I do not know how basketball works because I don't understand how. Oh shit! Yeah, okay, I see the punches now.
There are some serious punches.
Yeah, I don't. How is what happened offensive?
It's one of those things where it's like calling a timeout at the end of a football game with 30 seconds left when you're up 2 touchdowns to, your defense is out of position and, there's something where the defense isn't lined up correctly against the offense running just like a bullshit play that isn't going to impact the final score of the game. And you call a timeout to fix it. And then the opposing coach being like, yo, let's just fucking end this game. Let's get this shit over with. Come on.
Gotcha.
So it's not like, he spit on a player, called some bullshit play that got somebody hurt or anything like that. It was literally just like you're rubbing it in our face type of shit. At least from what I've seen from Twitter, I've watching the game.
Well, shout out to Juwan Howard. Great range. I'll say that. The arm span at full effect there.
Yeah.
Really made use of that wingspan. Love to see it from a former pro.
If you haven't watched the Fab Five documentary, 30 for 30,
I've seen Queer Eye.
Penn State.
It's a great show.
Even as a Penn State fan who just hates Michigan, really great documentary.
Well, everyone should hate Michigan, and everyone should start loving Michigan State. Let's go Trojans. It's all about the Trojans. All right.
Probably could have mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. So that's really kind of it with NFL stuff right now. With the Super Bowl just wrapping up a couple weeks ago, there's not too much else that's really happened yet. I'm not sure if is free agency even officially started yet.
No.
I was gonna say, yeah. So we're probably not gonna get any real updates or developments on that for a while. Oh, bold predictions.
Leap year doesn't start until the second week of March. Yeah, I'm gonna pull that up real quick if I can find it.
At this point, because we're already 20, 30 minutes into this podcast, let's save that for Wednesday.
All right.
We are dumb. We said that we were going to do that last episode and already forgotten the 3 days we record. Whatever. Fuck us. All right. So aside from that, really the only other thing that's going on in the world in which Gordon and I concern ourselves and keep tabs on is MLB lockout update number 95, and that is there's still no baseball, and no baseball to the point that spring training games were supposed to have started. So in a normal year, which it feels like we haven't had in quite some time, we would be watching televised baseball just about today. As spring training games would be shown on your local TV networks, where the players you have never heard of before, even though you are a huge fan of your team, end up facing off against players from teams that you didn't know existed. And however, spring training has been delayed until at least March 5th, according to MLB, as a result of the delayed negotiations. And it's an interesting kind of thing because you don't have to have a new CBA in place to play the sport.
Really?
The way it works is if you're still negotiating a new CBA, you can keep playing. You can play the regular season if they wanted to. They would just abide by the old CBA's rules until they came to an agreement. Chances are somewhat, if I'm not going to say that. If the players didn't want to do that, they could then strike instead of playing the season. I wouldn't say chances are because I have no fucking clue. I'm an idiot. But if the players really felt so strong about the current CBA or really putting pressure on the player, the owners, they could just do a strike instead. But because of the worker stoppage or the lockout, they don't even have that option. And so MLB is like, oh, don't you hate it? We're going to miss spring training games. It's going to fuck with the regular season. This lockout sucks. But they're the ones locking it out. And they're saying we can't start baseball until there's a new CBA. But that's not true either. You can play baseball without the CBA. So it's led to another narrative shift that is, this sucks for both sides, and it's both sides at fault that we're missing baseball games at this point, when that's not true either.
I missed the first part of that sentence, and I just, kind of heard you going into like, oh, it's both sides' fault. Or I was just like internally, just like, Josh, what the fuck are you talking about, man? That you are, who got to you?
Yeah. That if I had been kidnapped and there was an explosive tied to like my balls, that would be my sentence to let you know that something is deeply wrong.
There's ever like a clone of you, and it's like, oh, I got to figure out which one to shoot. I just have to ask about, hey, what's going on with the CBA?
What's your stance on
what's going on?
Yeah, and look, who's to say if the players would strike or not? But it's such a weird positioning thing that news organizations are keeping up with. And, usually, look, I don't know who owns what. There's too much ownership of too much other stuff for me to keep track of it all. I don't know who owns what. Mm-hmm. But I really would be surprised if you told me that a bunch of owners owned all the newspapers, like every paper, not just the big ones. New York Times, New York Post, who knows, who cares? But it feels like every publication
owns the Washington Post.
Mr. Bezos, which means, honestly, if I was Jeff Bezos, and if I was Jeff Bezos, I would be doing a lot of things differently. But if I was Jeff Bezos, I would be slandering MLB in the Washington Post to try to drive down somebody's value. Or so I could go to Manfred and be like, I'm going to keep dragging your name through the fucking mud until you sell me a baseball team.
Just Jeff Bezos using all of his political capital to acquire like
all of his Bezos bucks,
blackmail of Rob Manfred. It's like, I'm going to just straight up post these. I'm going to put your fucking old man dick on the front page of my newspaper every day until you end this bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, straight, because you got to admit, it's a winning strategy. Like, you will sell me the Tampa Bay Rays or else.
Or else. That's what Bond villains are created.
The Rays, you can have it.
Wait, you're going to spend how much every year on payroll? $36? Shit, that's such a great improvement. Let's do it.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos is secretly just Jeff Lowry in disguise. Well, yeah, because it feels like all of them, there feels like there's a missing conversation happening because we always get the player, the ownership side of everything. We never get, like, this is absolutely an issue that the players have a complete clear vision on, and a lot of autonomy in what's happening, or at least a lot of ability to say, fuck you, you're wrong. And it's still a missing part of kind of what's going on. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by the fact that Corwin, your background is so white. You were like an angel.
Like in and out, yeah.
Yeah. I got sidetracked by the sheer amount of contrast in your frame. But anyway,
we're getting artwork for this fall. Don't worry. There will be something there at some point.
At some point, there'll be a really big mural of like a mandala or some other lame shit.
No, Josh, it's gonna be a golf image.
Oh, you're right. I'm a fucking idiot. Sorry. It'll be the 9th hole of some stupid course in like Savannah.
I mean, honestly, I feel like this is something. Augusta's really close to Savannah. I think this is, the agency that minor league players and players as a whole have, I think has been one of the few things that have been greatly improved by the growth of social media, where the stories that we basically only got from the owner's perspective are now being, brought up from the player's perspective, because more people are able to see, through retweets or through, reposts or whatever it is that, however social media works, who knows?
Engagement,
right.
Engagement.
We're able to kind of look behind the curtain for the first time, and see exactly how exploited these players are by these billionaires, with a B. And I think that's kind of why we've been able to see so much movement and so much support for these changes. And it's not just, all right, fucking negotiate with this so we can have baseball, fucking, I don't care, compromise, blah, 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 blah. We're able to see a push for like, oh, wait, no, this is really, really unequal.
I mean, we just there was a video making the rounds the other day about a minor league ball player who shared a TikTok that found its way into Twitter. They posted part of his W-2 showing he made just over $11,000 last year.
Yeah, that is very, very far below the poverty line and very, very far below the minimum wage.
Yeah, I mean, for being honest, that's a lot of people like working a part-time summer job twice. Like you could make $5,000 home from college for 4 months working part-time.
Yeah.
And that's 4 months part-time. Like this is a guy who's expected to be one of the, best players in the country. Who's supposed to be in the best physical condition he could be in. And trying to actively, constantly improve on himself so that he can make it to the majors potentially, and play every night. Mm-hmm. It's baseball, baby, every night. And he's going to sprint by on $11,000 before taxes. Dude, you can't even pay rent on that.
No, and there's no way you can support yourself. There's no way you can improve. There's no way you can get ahead in life.
Corwin, these avocado toasts are killing this generation.
Oh my God, stop buying so many streaming services.
You need Netflix and Hulu?
Guys, I just canceled my Netflix subscription. I can't wait to buy a house.
They're sending me the deed as we speak. It's oh God, it's ridiculous.
And it's like, oh, well, they'll make the MLB and they'll be millionaires one day. It's like, well, they won't. 90% of them just won't. No,
because you also got to think, you get paid per game. You don't get paid for the year. Mm-hmm. So if you do end up getting called up for, honestly, even like, all right, hold on, let's do some quick math real quick. Gotta love classic juicing the numbers on the spot. Boy, we didn't consider this earlier. Math. Minimum salary for MLB. I forget what it is. Let's hold on. Let me look it up. I'll have it right. MLB minimum salary. It is $615,000. Okay, so $615,000. That is for 162 games. So divide that by 162. That means per game, it's about $3,800. So even if you get called up to play in for the Yankees for like, I don't know, 10 games, it's 38 grand. And even if that's what you made, adding in the 11 grand from the other gig, you've only made $60K that year, barely. And you're not living on that. And yeah, let's bump it up. Let's bump it. Let's say you played $3,800. You played 20 games. 20 games with the big ball, with the big league club. That's a pretty good stint. That's $76,000 that year. That's a good amount of money. But think about how wildly disparate it is between 10 days of your life. That's what it's coming down to for these guys. They are playing at destitute levels of income on the offhand chance that 10 individual days give them enough income to survive on for the year. And most guys don't get that opportunity. The vast majority of guys don't get that opportunity, but they play because it's what they're meant to do. It's what they're trying to do. It's what their life has led them towards. 10 days. Imagine your entire ability to survive. Because $76,000, you're not thriving. $76,000 is not, I'm buying a Bugatti and a house in Miami. $76,000 is like a good salary for a normal person. Like, it's the difference between having to scrimp on under 30K and being able to live okay for the year at 76K. 10 days of your life. Your entire life comes down, financial life comes down to 10 random fucking days that may or may not happen.
That's the American dream.
Yeah.
Wealthiest nation on earth, people.
Oh, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. So anyway, where we are at is currently still a standstill. Both sides have presented with barely any movement from what I've heard recently. Corwin, lay it on me.
I think we're going to see a serious death or serious decline to the amount of players in minor league baseball, because there's now no reason for players not to go to college and play college ball for 4 years.
Oh, because of NIL?
Because they can make more money going to college than they can playing professional baseball. And I think that, if anything, that might be serious. No, it won't be, because why the fuck would that change anyone's minds? Because there's no reason for them to think that, oh, we'll just get them when they graduate, shit like that, rather than getting them in our system now. But I think there's going to be a huge boom to college baseball, because there's no reason for high school prospects who aren't getting taken in, the first or second round to go play minor league baseball rather than going to college.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, it was already relatively true beforehand, because even surviving on student loans is less predatory than surviving off of because and that might sound ridiculous. It's absolutely true for these guys. Because I don't think people realize the minor leaguers don't get paid minimum wage for a 40-hour work week. They get paid minimum wage or lower because they have exempt status only for the time that they're actually on the field. That's it.
Yeah.
Them in the weight room doesn't count. Not getting paid for that. Them at batting practice, I don't think that counts. I'm not sure they're getting paid for that. It's like how flight attendants and pilots only get paid when the plane is in the air. It's a very similar construct for baseball players, for minor league baseball players. It only counts when you are on the field.
It's fucking unbelievable just how predatory the entire capitalistic system of our economy is.
Yeah. And how people will write it off because your job is cool. Like, yeah, playing baseball, that is a cool job. It doesn't mean you deserve to get fucked in the ass daily by an organization that doesn't care if you live or die, as long as you provide entertainment for some middle-aged family there on a Tuesday. Regardless.
Modern day slavery. Only half a joke.
Yeah, a little bit, only half. So apparently both sides will be coming together a little bit more frequently. I think they said they'll be doing daily, if not every other day, in-person meetings starting this upcoming week. As the progress has been very slow going so far, in part because MLB isn't giving a lot of counter offers. The most recent meeting that they had, which lasted about 15 minutes this past Thursday, was in which the Players Association gave their most recent counteroffer to MLB, which they pulled back on the Super Twos and offered a larger arbitration bonus pool, a larger arbitration pool, and more players eligibility for their third year, backing off the amount of players they wanted eligible after their second year, and still very disparate on the increase of minimum salary. So I just saw that the actual minimum salary in 2021 was 570,000. So I was 615 is what the league is proposing. Okay, hold on. So 570,000 divided by 162 is that. Okay. Which means if you played 10 games, it's something like a colossal difference on a per game basis. 10 games is 35K for the year, and 20 games would be 70 and change. So yeah, still not great, Jim. Not great. But yeah, the Players Association is proposing 775,000 as a minimum, which per game, let's actually do that. So that's actually probably a better way of thinking about it. So the league is proposing 615,000, which is what I had just used. So on a 162 game, a per game basis, that's $3,800. And the Players Association is proposing 775,000, which on a per game basis is just under $4,800. So they're about $1,000 per game apart, which again, for someone whose income is as wildly variable as a minor leaguer's, that $1,000, which less, really it's going to be $800, like probably even less than that after taxes. That's game changing. That's so much.
Actual MLB players that are playing and spending a full season in the majors are making the league minimum.
Yeah,
1%.
Yeah, there's gonna be tons of guys, I'm sure, but also I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those guys had other like signing bonuses that they're still living on. Like guys that are surviving on the league minimum, chances are so bad, but their teams they're Tyler Wade's, who it's like you're not good, but man, we need somebody, and so you're gonna be here. Yeah, we need a warm body who can play shortstop.
Same pitch.
Yep. But so that guy's not going to get a real contract because he's not good enough for it. And league minimum will serve him fine because he's going to have to leave baseball eventually, and he knows that. But I don't think a guy like Gleyber Torres was surviving on league minimum. I'm sure he had a lot of signing bonus and other money that was being funneled to him before he got into arbitration. So really the league minimum guys are going to be the guys who are like Chris Gittens, who came up for the Yankees in 2021, where it's like all of our first basemen imploded, and now we need this guy who I don't think was drafted super high. I don't think he got a signing bonus, and now he's going to be making, instead of $50 today, he's going to make $3,500 today, and that will now have to hold him over for like 6 months.
Right. You're going to have to live off of this.
Yeah, because you also got to think, if the league is not paying out very much money to their players, you better fucking believe their benefits are also hot ass. If they exist. I wouldn't even be confident if they existed. Your medical insurance is the emergency room. Fuck you. Anyway, so they are planning on meeting more frequently to start talking more, which to me really feels like that's got to be coming from MLB, because for the players' perspective, I think they've handled this super well. I mean, because apparently, I also didn't know this. The players don't get paid for spring training. Did you know that?
Nope.
Which means no one's losing money on the player side from missing spring training games, but teams are losing money from not being able to broadcast them or sell tickets to them.
Which honestly, I'm sure, at the end of the day, it's going to come back and bite players to some extent when the start of the season gets, delayed or guys get hurt because of the lack of spring training. But overall, I think that's a net positive, just saying a fuck you to the owners. Because boy, I just fucking hate all of you.
Also, apparently, lockouts only have to have 23 owners in agreement, which means, because I'm saying this in kind of roundabout ways, I try to remember which is the positives and negatives in my head. 8 owners. Like it takes 23 owners to break the lockout, which means you need 8 owners to keep the lockout, which, man, doesn't that feel like the Senate? 8 guys can be like, only 8. There's 30 owners. 8 guys can be like, fuck them. Fuck you guys. Fuck you, Hal. Fuck you, Jim. Fuck you, Arte Moreno, or whomever. I don't know. We banded together, the Billionaire Boys Club, to keep the lockout going, because I hate these immigrants I keep importing to play my sport or whatever fucked up shit they think. 8. That's it. 8 dudes can keep this shit going forever. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this move was on the owner's side to be like, oh man, we need something to wrap up here quick without making too many concessions. Because they're in a way tighter spot than the players.
Oh yeah.
Baseball will not exist without the players. It will not. Baseball will exist without the owners.
It's like one of those things where you look at that from a broad perspective and it's like, well, of course, they need the players, but like, no, really, literally you can't play baseball without the fucking entirety of its players. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyone could own a team. Look at the PGA Tour. The players own the tour. There's no owners. There's a governing body, sure, but there's nobody that owns the rights to the tour or owns the companies that the players are. Well, there's people who own the companies that the players are sponsored by, but there's no teams. It's just, hey, we're the players. We share revenue. Boom. We want something settled. Hey, the players decide what happens. Granted, that's leading to some fun drama right now, but at the end of the day, there's none of this bullshit, fighting over peanuts where players are being fucked over. No, you play and you get money for it, and for the most part, people are happy. And hey, if you're playing on tour, you're making a living.
Yeah.
If you're playing on the minor tours, you're still able to get by.
Well, and it's a leverage thing. Like, the owner's only leverage here really is we have the infrastructure, the current infrastructure for you to play baseball. And it's like, that's all well, and we pay you. So really our leverage is we want you to work. In order for the businesses that we have spent collectively billions of dollars building, in order for those companies to function, we desperately need you to work. But we won't pay you unless you do it our way. And for the players, it's like, I have an insanely marketable skill, something I am incredibly good at, with multiple leagues around the world who will pay, less than you, but still pretty fucking good. You can get over $1 million a year playing in the KBO. And I don't necessarily need you. Like, I'm going to be Mike Trout, whether the Angels exist or not. And I'll be just as good at baseball, whether the Angels exist or not. Whereas you won't be an owner unless there's a team that you can say you own. So if we're talking about who can last the longest, even just in terms of opportunity cost or potential losses that don't never get realized, like the players collectively are going to be inherently losing less salary than the owners are revenue, because if it was not the case, every team would be operating in a cost deficit from salary, and that's not how it works. So inherently, the owners have more to lose percentage-wise and in real dollars than the players do. And I bet the players are well aware of this, because I am not smart and I'm aware of this.
Believe it or not, all of these players have Twitter too. They know what's being said. If they don't know it innately from just existing in the sphere, they're told. They can find out. They know.
And it's the same thing that just happened 2 years ago with the wanting for the owners to prorate player salaries and cut them. And the owners blinked. Because guess what? You have no leverage. None at all. All you have is money. And guess what? In order to keep having a lot of money, you have to pay the players, or they will not make you more money. Imagine paying property tax on a building in Queens after earning no revenue.
No.
Yeah, it's like, it's unfathomable to think of. That's where we're headed. At least, when there was no fans in the stands a year ago, 2 years ago, they could, broadcast the games on TV. There's no games if there's no players. Stupid. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where. So hopefully, by the time we record next Sunday's episode, there's more stuff happening. And it's wild that the players are still making good faith concessions, even if they're not big.
Mm-hmm.
They've inched down, I believe, the minimum salary, or maybe I don't remember where they put the minimum salary now that I think about it. But the changing from wanting more second year arbitration eligible players to it's just saying we'll take an increase in third year arbitration eligible players as long as you increase the amount of money that is available to them so that they can make higher earnings within arbitration. Like, that's a good faith negotiation. That means basically that the owners can keep a way higher percentage of players than what the players organization had just offered. They can keep a higher percentage of players on minimum salaries in the second year and just have more players arbitration eligible in the third year. Right now, it's really just the bulk of players, fourth, fifth, and sixth years. Like, that's it. So, I mean, there are exceptions, but by and large, and that's what the players organization is arguing for. They were like, give us more players to be eligible in year 3. You said no to year 2. We got it. Give us year 3. That is a good faith negotiation. MLB has not done that. So,
and I think just the tiny concessions that the players are making is, I know it's by all means they shouldn't even be making them, because far and away they are already getting shafted. But I think it is enough of a smart decision to do that purely for the, hey, we are doing something. Let's keep the court of public opinion on our side and show that the owners are doing fucking nothing here to end this, and we're at least trying.
And legally, you have to.
Right.
Legally,
that's operating in good faith.
Right. Legally, if you are within negotiations, you are required for your next negotiation. If it's in a monetary negotiation, it has to be your next proposal has to be better to the opposing party than your previous one was. And MLB the Players Association has done that very well by making concessions very small or some smaller than others over time in order to keep negotiations going forward. Because what that also does by making the small as you can, good faith next step, is it puts the ball back on MLB. It puts it back to the owners and says, your turn, bitch. And that's really what they have to keep doing.
Bitch.
Yeah, I mean, just keep passing the ball back. That's all they have That's all they can do. That's all they really need to be doing. The big concession is going to have to come from the other side, because like we just said, from the time perspective, the players have that advantage. Missing spring training, it sucks from a player health perspective for sure. But if we're talking about the money aspect of it and the longstanding ramifications of the money aspect of it, way worse for the owners than it is for the players. So I think they're playing it well. But yeah, we'll keep it updated. I don't got anything else. You got anything else?
Phil Mickelson's a greedy piece of shit. Really
what'd he do?
Trying to leave the PGA Tour and instigate a mutiny against the PGA Tour to go collect several $100 million from the Saudi royal family to go play for them.
How does that work?
The Saudis are trying to start their own golf league that is a direct competitor with the PGA Tour. And in order to steal players away from said PGA Tour, they're offering just exorbitant amounts of money. Like Bryson DeChambeau was reportedly offered $240 million. Just here's a check, come play for us, play 12 events a year, make $30 million, $40 million doing that, rather than doing it on the PGA Tour. And Phil was very heavy-handed in his remarks about doing so, and even said, hey, we know that they're pieces of shit. We know that they kill gays. We know that they killed Jamal Khashoggi. But hey, this is about getting leverage against the PGA and making the PGA Tour better. And then as soon as he said that, everyone was like, holy fuck, Phil, you can't say the quiet part out loud. This is, and it's starting to fall apart because of those comments, but it's a much larger conversation to be had if we are going to have the conversation.
God damn.
Yeah. Phil.
That's a lot of
ruined your reputation in about 2 weeks. Just utterly ruined it.
I'd like to sit here and say I could scoff at that quantity of money on my morals, especially like the Saudis. You know what I mean? Or like some area where it's comic book levels of villainy. You know, like Vladimir Putin offered me $60 million to, you know, like go give high fives around, like something really stupid and easy, like something I can reasonably do, like Phil Mickelson for golf, like giving high fives to a bunch of Russian people. Just like, I'll give you $50 million if you just like go high five everybody in the Kremlin. It's like, I can do that. But it's like, do I take that money? Like, I'm not sure I want 60 million Putin bucks. Like, I'm not sure that's right. Where I want my morality to be. And it's also, like, but that's also me as a guy who doesn't have any money. Like, how could I? Go ahead.
Do you know what Phil Mickelson's career earnings are on and off the field in 30 years?
On and off? So we're including his sponsorships?
Yeah.
I'm going to lowball because I have no idea. A wild guess? A wild guess, $800 million.
Any guess you want.
No, my real guess would be $200 million.
You shouldn't have changed it. It's $800 million.
What?
So angry that you guessed the exact fucking number.
Yes.
I don't even think that's adjusting for inflation. Like, it's genuinely just, that's Phil. Like, Phil Mickelson's essentially a billionaire.
You mean a billionaire?
That's what I said.
I thought you moved. I thought you said millionaire. I was gonna say, like, yeah, $800 million makes you a millionaire a few times.
Yeah, a couple, 800 times over to be exact.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, how do, and you know, this is like the same conversation we just kind of had with the owners. It's like, you have so much money. Why do you care this much? Yeah.
The rumor is a crippling gambling addiction, but if you've already gambled away $800 million, the Saudis aren't going to be able to help you.
No, because if you're going to gamble away $100 million, you're going to gamble away 240 more. That's how gambling addictions work. No one ever goes, you got me.
You know what? I'm done wasting my money on this.
I just realized this is a mistake.
Yeah. Wow. Gambling is just throwing your money away. I had no idea.
I
All
could have
right.
been eating it as food, and that would be a better investment.
Oh, Phil. But yeah, thankfully, as of today, it's all kind of just been crumbling around everyone else. So we'll see if this jumps up again, and as there's more distance between Phil and the rest of the guys who want to go take the Saudi money. But
This is what I hate about off-season stuff, because it's never good stuff. It's never fun, happy stuff. It's never like, hey, everyone's doing great. Everything's fine. Guess what? The players got everything they wanted and solved global warming along the way. Like, no, it's like everything you love sucks behind the scenes. Everything you love brings everybody else pain, blows hot ass.
man, imagine how many children's hospitals Phil Mickelson could have built with $800 million.
I know children's hospitals are a thing, but every time someone says children's hospital, I can't help but think of the show Children's Hospital and just picture Rob Corddry and clown makeup.
Yep.
And it just kills me every time. You said, think about how many children's hospitals, and my next thought was seasons.
To be
Like
fair,
9
he
Rob
could fund a
Corddrys.
lot of seasons of Children's Hospital.
Oh yeah, those were 15-minute episodes, and that's being liberal.
Oh man, with $800 million, I don't think Phil Mickelson is ever liberal.
No. But if he's also going to start funding shows, more seasons of NTSF SD SUV, please. The great show. Shout outs to you, Paul Scheer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was very lost with those letters, just all in order. Just
NTSF SD SUV.
yeah.
Yeah.
It very quickly overloaded my very basic brain.
It's got a great intro song. Yeah.
Speaking of shows, have you ever watched Auntie Donna's Big Old House of Fun?
Auntie Donna's?
Auntie Donna. Yeah.
No, never heard of it.
It's on Netflix. Really funny. Highly recommend. Showed Quinn today. She hated it. So you know you'll love it.
I'll check it out. I just got replied to by David Cross, the comedian, on Twitter, because
Really?
I mentioned how much I love a show that he made a decade ago that I absolutely adore that nobody's seen,
I
called The
saw that
Increasingly
tweet.
Poor Decisions of Todd Margaret.
I saw that tweet. I didn't see his reply. That's
Yeah,
great.
he replied back. Thanks. I'm like, yeah, love you, buddy.
Cool. I love you.
It's a great show. It's a really, really great show. Check it out.
Oh
people.
God.
His decisions are increasingly poor.
I mean, that's all you need to know.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is not that show. It's a different show. So we'll wrap it up here. Hopefully we'll have some fun stuff to talk about. Maybe we'll try to craft something instead of just shouting to the abyss for next episode. We'll see where life takes us. But that's for Thursday. So in the meantime, if you'd like to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at JuicingPod. If you'd like to follow Corwin on Twitter, you can do so at Corwin Hella. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at Joshua D. Tracy. If you'd like to send emails to the show, you can do so at juicingthenumbers@gmail.com. And until Thursday, y'all have a good one.